I pull into my parents' driveway, the snow falling in gentle flakes against the pristine colonial in suburban Arvada. December in Denver always brings this perfect snow globe effect, picturesque and cold in equal measure, much like the Matthews family Christmas tradition. My hands tremble slightly as I check my lipstick in the rearview mirror. Just tell them about the promotion, I whisper to myself, rehearsing the words I've practiced for days. Creative director at 31. They can't dismiss that. The trunk contains carefully wrapped presents, each one selected with painful precision. Hidden beneath them, a small velvet box burns a hole in my purse. Daniel's ring, purchased on an installment plan I can barely afford. But some things are worth the sacrifice. The front door swings open. Dad stands there, his smile genuine but distracted, already glancing over his shoulder at whatever crisis Mom is manufacturing in the kitchen. Holly, you made it. He pulls me into a quick hug that smells of Old Spice and pine. Before I can respond, Mom appears behind him, critical eyes sweeping over me like searchlights. That green dress washes you out, dear, she says instead of hello. I wish you'd worn the navy one I bought you for your birthday. I swallow the familiar sting. Merry Christmas to you too, Mom. The living room is a museum of Christmas past, the same decorations that have adorned the walls for 3 decades. Cousin Jim and his wife occupy the love seat, while Uncle Ray nurses his usual whiskey by the fireplace. Grandma Eleanor sits in her designated armchair, her eyes crinkling with warmth as she spots me. There's my Holly, she says, extending her hand. I navigate toward her, but Ethan intercepts, dominating the center of the room as he always does. Just secured financing for the North Office expansion, my brother announces, not bothering with a greeting. Orthopedic surgery is about to become the most profitable specialty in Colorado, mark my words. Chloe materializes beside him, designer handbag swinging from her wrist. Speaking of profitable, the firm made me senior associate last month. She extracts business cards from her wallet, passing them around like communion wafers. Youngest female senior associate in the history of Bergman and Walsh. I place my handmade family scrapbook on the coffee table. Hours of work, collecting photos, writing captions, preserving memories. Mom glances at it, then nudges it aside to make room for Ethan's medical journal. From her corner, Grandma Eleanor catches my eye and offers the slightest shake of her head. She sees everything, always has. Remember when you were 10? The memory surfaces unbidden as I accept a glass of wine from Dad. Mom standing in my bedroom doorway, pointing to Ethan's straight-A report card. Why can't you be more like your brother? High school graduation. My name called after receiving honors in marketing and design. The audience's applause drowned out by Mom's excited whisper to her friend. Ethan just got his medical school acceptance letter this morning. College graduation, marketing degree in hand. It's not a real career, honey, Dad had said gently, but it'll do until you find something permanent. Access. Then the pattern began. First, Mom calling about their broken furnace during the coldest February on record. We're a little short this month. My first real paycheck, sliced in half to cover their repair. Later, huddled in Mom's car, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper after I'd written another check. Don't tell anyone about this. It would embarrass your father. I return to the present as Dad carves the turkey with surgical precision, his hands steady and sure in a way mine never are at these gatherings. The perfect slices fall onto Wedgwood china as relatives pass serving dishes around the table. My wine glass is nearly empty when I clear my throat. Daniel and I are engaged. The words hang in the air. The only sound is Grandma Eleanor's soft clapping, her weathered hands creating gentle applause in the suffocating silence. Mom sets her wine glass down with deliberate care, the crystal making a sharp sound against the table. Her mouth forms a thin line before she speaks. Well, she says, each word measured and cold. I suppose someone had to take you. You're the most useless child we have. The table falls silent. Ethan studies his plate. Chloe examines her manicure. Dad's knife pauses mid-slice. I wait for the familiar burn of tears, the instinct to flee to the guest bathroom and compose myself. It doesn't come. Instead, an unexpected calm washes over me, like stepping into an eye of a storm I've been battling my entire life. My phone sits beside my plate. I pick it up, open my banking app, and begin scrolling through transaction after transaction. Mom watches with narrowing eyes as my thumb flicks upward through months of financial history. Dad notices the change in my posture, the straightening of my spine, the slight lift of my chin. He sets the carving knife down, confusion etched across his face. Holly? He ventures. I look up, meeting Mom's gaze directly for what feels like the first time in years. Then stop calling when you need money, I say, my voice steady and clear in the Christmas dinner silence. I can almost hear the foundation crack beneath us, the family hierarchy shifting like tectonic plates. Grandma Eleanor's smile spreads slowly across her face as the dining room table becomes a battlefield, with my small revolution finally declared. I scroll through my banking app, the blue light illuminating faces around the Christmas table. The silence feels like a physical weight, pressing down on shoulders that have carried financial burdens far too long. Let me show you something interesting, I say, my voice steadier than I expected. December 3rd, $1,150 to Matthews Leasing. My finger taps the screen. That's for your Lexus, isn't it, Mom? Margaret's face tightens. Thomas glances between us, fork suspended halfway to his mouth. November 15th, $2,750. I look at Dad. Your knee surgery deductible? Remember how worried you were about meeting it before year-end? His eyes drop to his plate. October 2nd, $3,200. My gaze shifts to Chloe. Bar exam prep course, premium package. Chloe's cheeks flush pink against her cream blouse. August 24th, $4,500 wire transfer. I turn to Ethan. Those lingering student loans that were keeping you from qualifying for your practice loan. Grandma Eleanor's hand covers mine briefly, a warm anchor in this storm of my making. 3 years of transactions. $42,000. The numbers burn on the screen like accusatory eyes, and not a single repayment. Margaret's wine sloshes dangerously close to the rim of her glass. Families help each other. That's what we do. Why? No, Mom. Families support each other. This was exploitation. You could have said no if it was such a burden, Chloe snaps, her voice high and defensive. Nobody forced you. A laugh escapes me, surprising even myself. You're right. Nobody held a gun to my head. Just emotional manipulation and the promise of finally being worth something to this family. Mom's eyes narrow to slits. What exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. I scroll through another month of transactions. My lease renewal depends on the bonus I saved. The bonus you asked for half of last week for the bathroom remodel. Thomas looks genuinely shocked. Margaret, you didn't mention... Daniel and I are taking night courses toward our MBAs. I continue, the words flowing now like a river breaking through a dam. His teacher's salary barely covers our current expenses. This engagement ring? I hold up my left hand where the modest diamond catches the light. Installment plan. Because every time I save, one of you has an emergency. Margaret slams her palm on the table, rattling the silverware. How dare you air our private business? When I tell everyone what you've done. What I've done? The question hangs between us. What exactly have I done, Mom? Supported this family while being treated like I'm nothing? The realization washes over me, crystal clear amid the wreckage of Christmas dinner. I wanted you to see me as worth something. My voice softens, not from weakness, but from the strange power of finally understanding. But my worth was never going to come from you, was it? I close the banking app with a decisive tap, the screen going dark. My purse sits beside my chair, and I gather it with careful precision, each movement deliberate. The Bank of Holly is officially closed. I announce, a genuine smile spreading across my face for the first time all evening. Grandma Eleanor's whispered, finally, cuts through the stunned silence. Her weathered hands grip her napkin, eyes gleaming with something like pride. No dramatic exit needed, no tears or slam doors. Just the quiet dignity of walking away from the table, away from patterns established long before I had the language to name them. The front door closes behind me with a gentle click. The snow falls steadily now, covering the driveway in a fresh white blanket that my footprints disturb as I walk toward my car. Footsteps crunch behind me. Dad follows, his cardigan insufficient against the December cold. Holly, wait. His breath forms clouds in the frigid air. Through the front window, I see Grandma Eleanor's firm grip on Mom's arm, preventing her from following. Inside, family members remain frozen in tableau around the abandoned turkey. My phone buzzes with a text notification. Cousin Laura, call me tomorrow. I saw everything. I'll talk to you later, Dad, I say, unlocking my car door. Not tonight. The drive home feels strangely peaceful. No tears blurring my vision as I navigate the familiar streets. For the first time in years, I've stood my ground. The sensation is foreign, almost uncomfortable in its newness. Daniel waits in our apartment, understanding etched across his face before I even speak. A bottle of wine breathes on the counter, 2 glasses ready. Your mom called, he says, taking my coat. 3 times. I didn't answer. I pull out my phone, switch off notifications with a decisive swipe. First peaceful Christmas night in years. Daniel pulls me close, his teacher's sweater rough against my cheek. I've been waiting for you to see what I see. A text from Rebecca pops up before I silence the phone completely. Guest room ready just in case. Proud of you. Later, in bed beside sleeping Daniel, I stare at the ceiling. My holiday bonus remains untouched in savings. The weight of broken family relationships settles into midnight reflection, bittersweet but no longer crushing. Somewhere between liberation and loss, I find an unexpected moment of peace. The bank of Holly is closed, and for the first time, I'm keeping the assets for myself. 2 days later, Margaret's email arrives at 6:43 a.m. on a Tuesday. I stare at my phone, still wrapped in mourning blankets, as the message loads with its lengthy list of recipients. Extended family, friends, even a few of Ethan's colleagues. The subject line reads, "Concerning Holly's betrayal." My stomach turns to concrete as I scan her carefully crafted paragraph about my shocking Christmas behavior and abandonment of family values. The words slice through my morning calm like paper cuts, small but surprisingly painful. After all we've sacrificed, she writes, our daughter has chosen selfishness over family loyalty. Daniel's arm wraps around my waist. You knew this was coming, he whispers into my hair. Remember what Dr. Levinson said in therapy. Their reaction isn't your responsibility. The phone buzzes again. Chloe this time, her name flashing on my screen like a warning light. Holly, how could you? Her voice breaks with theatrical precision. Mom can barely get out of bed. I've had to take a personal day from the firm. She keeps asking what she did wrong. I press the phone to my ear, listening as Chloe describes calling our mutual friends, her voice dropping to a tearful whisper. Everyone's shocked by how you've abandoned us. That night, Dad calls. The familiar ringtone jolts me awake at 11:37 p.m. Your mother doesn't know I'm calling, he says, his voice smaller than I remember. She's having a hard time, Holly. Dad, I just want to understand what happened at Christmas. You've always been our rock. The truth hovers on my tongue. I was never their rock. I was their ATM. Later that week, my phone lights up with a notification from the Denver Business Journal. Matthews named youngest creative director at Altitude Marketing. The article mentions my innovative approach to client retention and remarkable industry trajectory. My office fills with congratulatory emails while my personal inbox remains a battleground of family allegations. You should see this, Daniel says one evening, sliding a spreadsheet across our kitchen table. We've just returned from meeting with his financial advisor, who outlined investment options I'd never considered possible before. Options that exist only because I stopped bleeding money into my family's accounts. What am I looking at? Every loan you've given your family in the last 3 years. Dates, amounts, supposed purposes. Daniel's finger traces the total at the bottom. $42,635. I blink at the number, at once both smaller and larger than I'd imagined. Small enough to wonder where it all went, large enough to have been the down payment on a home. When cousin Laura's wedding invitation arrives, I decline without explanation. The power in that single checkbox, regretfully unable to attend, feels like a small revolution. Thursday's lunch hour finds me at Copper Kettle, my favorite downtown cafe. The spring sunshine streams through plate glass windows, warming my favorite corner table as I spread marketing briefs beside my sandwich. My phone sits face down, a newly established boundary. The cafe door swings open, bell chiming softly. I don't look up until I sense someone hovering at my table. Mom stands there, Chloe half a step behind. Mom's eyes are rimmed red, her makeup carefully applied to enhance the appearance of exhaustion. Chloe clutches her designer handbag like a shield. Holly, Mom says, her voice pitched just loud enough to turn heads. We need to talk. My throat tightens. The cafe, my sanctuary, my lunch break escape suddenly feels like a trap. They've chosen a public setting deliberately, knowing I can't escape without creating a scene. Mom slides into the chair opposite mine without waiting for an invitation. Chloe hovers, then sits. The briefs between us become an inadequate barrier. How could you do this to your family? Mom's voice breaks, the tears appearing on cue. After everything we've done for you. Dad's knee is getting worse, Chloe adds, leaning forward. The doctor says he needs another procedure. Is that what you want? For him to suffer because you're being selfish? I lift my coffee cup, taking a slow, deliberate sip. The warm liquid steadies me as I set the mug down with a soft click against the table. I love you both, I say, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice, but love doesn't require sacrifice. Mom's eyes widen. This isn't the script she expected. Dad's health isn't dependent on my bank account, I continue. And we both know his insurance covers 80% of any procedure. You don't understand, Mom begins, but I cut her off with a raised hand. I understand perfectly. You're not here because you miss me. You're here because you miss my money. The cafe manager approaches, concern etched across her face. Everything okay here, Miss Matthews? Your usual table is always reserved for you. Everything. I nod, grateful for the interruption and the unexpected ally. Everything's fine, Vera. My mother and sister were just leaving. Mom's mouth opens in shock. This isn't how our confrontations normally end, with me still seated, composed while she's dismissed. I reach for my wallet, counting out bills for 3 coffees, and place them deliberately on the table between us. This is the last bill I'll pay for you, I say quietly. As they leave, I notice Rebecca at a corner table, her phone positioned to capture the entire exchange. She gives me a thumbs up before returning to her laptop. That evening, my office implements visitor screening protocols after I explain the incident to my supervisor. Family drama shouldn't impact our workflow, she says matter-of-factly, updating the front desk security list. The weekly lunches with Grandma Eleanor become my sanctuary. I've waited 30 years to see you stand up for yourself, she tells me, buttering her roll with precise movements. Your grandfather would be proud. Daniel's colleagues from school send encouraging texts after hearing about the coffee shop confrontation. Cousin Laura calls with her own stories of family financial pressure, confessing she's been on the receiving end of similar demands. The knock at my apartment door comes unexpectedly on a Tuesday evening. The peephole reveals Dad standing alone in the hallway, his shoulders slumped under his worn canvas jacket. Can I come in? He asks, eyes darting down the corridor as if afraid of being seen. I hesitate before opening the door wider. He sits awkwardly on our couch, hands clasped between his knees. I never knew, he says finally. How much you were paying, I mean. Mom didn't tell you? Mom didn't tell you? He shakes his head, then reaches for the folder he brought. I found your spreadsheets, the ones you left at Christmas. He opens it, revealing organized columns of numbers. She told me these were just small birthday gifts you'd given us. I sit beside him, turning pages to show the real amounts. His face crumples as he sees the total. I'm going back to work, he says suddenly. Full-time engineering again. Peterson's firm has an opening. Dad, you don't have to. I do. His eyes fill with tears as he takes my hand. I failed you as a father, Holly. I let this happen. Later that week, I start a journal dedicated to family interactions. Each call, text, and confrontation documented with clinical precision. Financial records organized by month and purpose. Text messages backed up to secure cloud storage. I create an email folder labeled Family Boundaries and file away every message from Mom and Chloe. The very act of organization feels like reclaiming power. Our wedding planning proceeds without the financial strain I'd expected. The venue deposit clears without emptying my account. The caterer's contract doesn't require me to skip lunch for a month to afford it. When the engagement party invitations go out, 2 names are conspicuously absent from the guest list. Dad calls to confirm he'll attend. Grandma Eleanor promises to bring her famous lemon squares. The evening before the party, my doorbell rings. The security camera Daniel installed shows Mom standing outside, clutching a large manila envelope to her chest. My hand hovers over the doorknob. Behind me, our apartment glows with pre-celebration warmth. Daniel arranges appetizer platters in the kitchen, humming softly. The doorbell rings again, more insistent this time. My fingers curl around the cold metal of the knob as I weigh the choices before me. I open the door but position myself firmly in the threshold, blocking entry. The last boundary I have left, Holly. Her voice carries that familiar note of wounded dignity. May I come in? I'm preparing for my engagement party tomorrow, I say, not moving. What's this about? She extends the envelope with a trembling hand. I found these while cleaning out the attic. I thought you might want them. I accept the package, my curiosity winning over caution. Inside are childhood photographs I've never seen me at 6 blowing out birthday candles, 10-year-old me clutching a science fair ribbon, teenage me in my first formal dress. Remember how happy we were? Mom's voice softens, eyes misting strategically. Before all this, unpleasantness. I thumb through the photos, feeling that old familiar pull, that hunger for proof that I belonged. The family is falling apart, Holly. Her hand reaches for my arm but stops short when I step back. Your father is devastated. Ethan barely speaks to us. Chloe cries herself to sleep. I say nothing, which unsettles her more than any response. Dr. Williamson has agreed to host a family counseling session next Tuesday. She produces a business card from her purse. Everyone's committed to attending. Even Grandma Eleanor thinks it's a good idea. I recognize the manipulation instantly. Grandma would never. It's the same tactic Mom used when I was 16, convincing me Dad had approved my babysitting the neighbor's kids 3 nights a week, money that somehow always ended up covering Chloe's dance lessons. Thank you for the memories, I say, tapping the envelope against my palm, but this doesn't change anything. Holly, please. I appreciate you thinking of me. My voice stays measured, something new I'm still getting used to. I'll consider the counseling, but right now I need to prepare for my engagement party. Her mouth tightens at the mention of the event she wasn't invited to. Your father misses you. Dad knows where to find me. He's welcome anytime. I begin closing the door, slowly but firmly. I need to go now. The door clicks shut, and I lean against it, breathing deeply. No tears, no racing heart, just quiet certainty. Daniel emerges from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a dish towel. You okay? I hand him the envelope. Trip down memory lane, courtesy of Margaret Matthews. We spread the photos across our coffee table. Daniel sits cross-legged on the floor beside me, studying each image with historian's eyes. Notice anything? He asks after a while. I shake my head, still caught in memories of the moments captured. His finger points to photo after photo. You're always on the edge. Here, Christmas morning, Ethan and Chloe center stage unwrapping presents. You're practically off frame. Your high school graduation, you're half hidden behind your dad. Family vacation, you're taking the picture instead of being in it. I stare at the evidence arranged before me, patterns emerging like constellations. And this one. Daniel taps a photo of me at 16, standing beside Mrs. Peterson's twins. Isn't this when you started babysitting? 3 nights a week, $20 per night. The memory crystallizes. Mom said they needed help at the time. Which became Chloe's dance competition fees. Daniel's voice holds no judgment, just quiet observation. Which became your parents' anniversary trip? Which became the Bank of Holly. I gather the photos, seeing them now for what they truly are, not treasured memories but evidence of systematic exclusion. I reach for my laptop. I'm starting a new album, one that begins with our engagement. Daniel kisses my forehead. Perfect first entry. The engagement party transforms our small backyard the next evening. String lights crisscross above patio furniture borrowed from Rebecca's parents. Colleagues from the marketing firm mingle with Daniel's teacher friends. Champagne flutes catching golden sunset light. I'm helping Grandma Eleanor to a chair when a ripple of tension sweeps through the gathering. Chloe stands at the garden gate, Ethan hovering uncomfortably behind her. Family should be invited to engagement celebrations. She announces loudly, striding into the yard like she's entering a courtroom. Conversations pause. Glasses freeze mid-sip. All eyes track the unfolding drama. Daniel's hand finds the small of my back, steady and warm. I've got this if you need me to. I shake my head. I'm good. Chloe reaches us just as Dad appears through the garden gate, looking both embarrassed and determined. What are you doing here? I ask quietly. We're still your family, Chloe says, voice rising. You can't just cut us out because... This isn't the place, Dad murmurs, but she ignores him. Rebecca moves protectively toward me, champagne bottle poised like a weapon. Daniel's father taps his glass for a toast, unaware of the brewing storm. To Holly and Daniel, Two extraordinary teachers, one of history and one of boundaries. Quiet laughter ripples through the gathering. Family should come first, Chloe interrupts, tears brimming. Before careers, before fiancés, before... This is about Holly's future. Grandma Eleanor's voice cuts through the tension like a knife through butter, which is exactly what family should celebrate, not sabotage. Emma so. The brutal simplicity of her words silences everyone. My colleagues exchange glances, witnessing firsthand what I've tried to explain in break room conversations. Thomas. Chloe appeals to our father. Tell her this isn't right. Tell her we're leaving. Dad looks at me, really looks at me, perhaps for the first time in years. Then he sets his glass on a nearby table and straightens his shoulders. I'm staying, he says quietly. Chloe's face crumples. She spins on her heel and storms out, mascara tracking down her cheeks. Ethan remains frozen in place, his expression unreadable. The party gradually resumes, though now peppered with whispers. Mom's absence becomes a topic of speculation that I neither confirm nor deny. Later, as dusk deepens into night, Ethan approaches me by the dessert table. Could we talk? He asks, hands jammed in his pockets. We move to a quiet corner of the yard. He pulls an envelope from his jacket and hands it to me. I never realized what was happening, he says, voice low. Not until Dad showed me your spreadsheet. Inside the envelope is a check for the exact amount I paid toward his student loans, plus interest. I'm also taking over Dad's medical bills going forward, he continues, starting with the physical therapy for his knee. I study my brother's face, searching for the competitive edge that defined our childhood interactions. It's absent, replaced by something that looks remarkably like shame. Why now? I ask. Because I saw what it cost you. His eyes meet mine. And because for the first time, I saw what it cost Dad to let it happen. We talk for 20 minutes, our first genuine conversation in years. That night, Dad texts that Chloe called him in tears. The next morning, Ethan emails that he's refused to support Mom's version of events when she called demanding he take sides. 3 cousins and an aunt reach out directly to me, instead of filtering through Mom. Dad mentions he's starting financial counseling. And in a final irony that would be funny if it weren't so sad, Rebecca reports from her mother's bridge club that Margaret Matthews has stopped attending social gatherings, claiming illness when the real ailment is the shifting of support systems she once controlled with absolute authority. The photos Mom brought sit in a new album now, labeled The Past, but they're contextualized with my spreadsheets, my documentation, my truth. Beside it sits a thicker album labeled The Future, beginning with pictures from an engagement party where I stand firmly in the center of every frame. Weeks later, the wedding invitation sits on my desk, cream-colored cardstock with golden lettering, no mention of the mother of the bride. 6 weeks of planning without Margaret's input, and I've never felt more at peace with a decision. My phone vibrates again. The 3rd time in an hour. Holly, please call. My blood pressure is through the roof. Mom's text glows on the screen, a familiar manipulation that once would have sent me rushing to her side. I set the phone face down and return to my seating chart. Daniel appears in the doorway, his face tight with concern. Your dad called. Says your mom's really struggling with being excluded. She's not excluded, I remind him, tapping my pen against the chart. She's just not in charge. I know, but what? I look up, meeting his worried eyes. Your dad says this might be her last chance to make memories with you, as your mother. The old guilt rises like floodwater, threatening to drown my resolve. I close my eyes, counting backward from 10, a technique my therapist suggested. She's 58, and perfectly healthy, except when she needs leverage. I say finally. This is exactly what she did before my graduation, my promotion party, and every important moment of my life. Daniel nods, understanding dawning in his eyes. He's caught between supporting me and the natural desire for peace, just as Dad has been for 30 years. Later that evening, Daniel's mother calls, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant. Holly, dear, I ran into your mother today at Williams-Sonoma. My stomach tightens. Let me guess, a completely accidental meeting? She was quite upset, said she's being excluded from her only daughter's wedding. A pause. Is everything all right between you two? I explain as simply as I can, omitting the financial details but emphasizing the boundaries I've established. By the time we hang up, she sounds uncertain but supportive. Daniel watches me from across the kitchen. She got to my parents. That's just the beginning. I say, surprising myself with how calm I feel. Chloe texted earlier. 3 photographers suddenly can't make our date, despite signed contracts. He frowns. That's not a coincidence. No, I agree. It's war. The next morning brings worse news. Our venue coordinator calls, apologetic but firm. There's been a catastrophic plumbing issue at the hall. We have to cancel all events for the next 3 months. Officially, we've lost our venue. I sit in stunned silence as Daniel takes over the call, his teacher's voice steady and practical as he asks about deposits and recommendations. When he hangs up, I whisper what we're both thinking. My mother. You can't know that for sure, he says, but his eyes tell me he believes it too. That night, I curl into myself on our sofa, watching as Daniel makes calls, sends emails, attempts to salvage what's left of our wedding plans. Maybe I should just give in. I say finally, the words bitter on my tongue. Let her help with the wedding. It would be easier. Ka. Rebecca appears in our doorway 20 minutes later, summoned by Daniel's SOS text. She drops onto the couch beside me, her face fierce with determination. This is exactly why you stood up to them, she reminds me. The moment you show weakness, they pounce. She pulls out her laptop. My client owns a vineyard outside Boulder. Small, private, and available because their daughter's wedding was last weekend. 3 days later, we stood on a hillside overlooking rows of grapevines. The sun bathes everything in golden light, and a small stone building with a red roof nestles against the hillside. It's perfect, I whisper, and for the first time in weeks, the tightness in my chest eases. My marketing colleagues rally around me, their industry connections securing last-minute vendors. I spend one entire evening addressing invitations by hand, each one carefully selected. When I reach the envelopes for Mom and Chloe, I include a note card that took me hours to compose. I would welcome your presence at our wedding under these conditions. Respect my boundaries, cause no drama, attempt no control. These terms are non-negotiable. With love, Holly. The wedding day arrives wrapped in sunshine. Dad walks me down the aisle, his steps steadier than they've been in years. His engineering job has returned color to his face and confidence to his posture. Grandma Eleanor sits in the front row, occupying the space traditionally reserved for the mother of the bride. Mom and Chloe sit 3 rows back, both wearing expressions of careful neutrality. Daniel's parents embrace me with genuine warmth before the ceremony, his mother whispering, "We're so proud to welcome you to our family." I don't cry until Daniel reads his vows, his voice steady as he promises to stand beside me through whatever comes. Your strength has taught me what real love looks like, he says, and I believe him. At the reception, I've placed my career award from last month's industry dinner on a small table near the guest book. Beside it, tucked into our wedding album, is the spreadsheet summarizing the financial history between my family and me, a record, not a weapon. During the father-daughter dance, Dad whispers, "I've never been prouder of you, Holly." Later, I find a moment alone with Mom near the dessert table. She looks smaller somehow, less commanding in her carefully chosen navy dress. "I forgive you," I tell her quietly, "but I won't forget." She opens her mouth, likely to protest, but I continue before she can speak. "My home and my finances are off limits to you from this day forward. That's not negotiable." Something shifts in her eyes, a realization that her old tactics won't work anymore. For perhaps the first time in my life, she looks at me with something approaching respect. "I was wrong about you," she says finally. The closest thing to an apology I'll ever receive, but it's enough. During the sister dance, a tradition I created just for today, Chloe leans in close. "I'm sorry," she whispers, the words almost lost in the music. "For everything." I nod, accepting but not absolving. Some relationships take years to rebuild, and we're only at the foundation. Across the room, I watch Dad laughing with Daniel's father, his shoulders relaxed, no longer carrying the weight of keeping peace between warring factions. Mom sits with Grandma Eleanor, their conversation clearly strained but civil. The old hierarchy has crumbled, replaced by something new and uncertain. I'm not cruel in my victory. I don't need to be. The power lies in my smile as I dance with my husband, in the knowledge that I've claimed my life as my own. Not through dramatic gestures or scorched earth, but through the quiet, unshakable power of boundaries drawn in love and maintained with conviction. 3 months later, the paint hasn't even dried on our modest brick bungalow, but it already feels more like home than anywhere I've lived before. Daniel rests his chin on my shoulder as I hang the MBA acceptance letter on our refrigerator, securing it with a magnet shaped like the Colorado state flag. Creative director by day, MBA student by night, he says, pressing a kiss into my hair. How did I get so lucky? I lean back into him, savoring the weight of his arms around my waist. The industry newsletter called it a well-deserved promotion for one of Denver's rising marketing stars. They're not wrong. His voice carries that unmistakable pride that still catches me off guard, appreciation without expectation. The doorbell chimes, and I don't flinch or rehearse responses in my head. Those habits faded months ago, replaced by a steadiness I'm still getting used to. Dad stands on our porch, holding a cardboard box that smells like cinnamon and butter. Made it myself, he says, offering up his homemade apple crisp. Eleanor supervised. Our weekend brunches have become something of a tradition. Dad and Grandma Eleanor at our dining table, sharing stories over coffee and pastries. Sometimes we talk about Mom and Chloe. Sometimes we don't. Either way, the conversation flows, without the undercurrent of obligation that used to poison every family gathering. How's the financial planning course? I ask Dad, as he settles at our kitchen island. Turns out I have a knack for budgeting when I actually try. He laughs, the sound fuller than I remember from childhood. Paying my own bills feels right. Should have done it decades ago. Later, as December snow dusts our front yard, I slip into the emerald green dress hanging in our closet. The fabric catches the light differently now, or perhaps it's just that I wear it differently, without the weight of anticipated criticism. Beautiful, Daniel says from the doorway. I don't argue or deflect. Thank you. Our first Christmas in the new house bears no resemblance to the holidays of my past. We've created our own traditions: cinnamon rolls for breakfast, presents opened slowly with Christmas jazz playing in the background, no rigid timeline or performative perfection. When I open the door for Dad's arrival, I don't brace myself. I don't calculate how much money I might need to spend to earn his approval. I simply welcome him into our home. Merry Christmas, Holly. He hands me a small package wrapped in Sunday comics, his new signature style since he started living on his own terms. The word no comes easily these days. 2 letters that used to feel impossible to pronounce now slip from my lips without hesitation when Chloe calls about just a small loan. I no longer justify my boundaries with lengthy explanations. My worth isn't measured by what I provide. In therapy last week, monthly sessions now instead of weekly, doctor. Patel nodded as I described a recent industry award. Notice how you didn't once mention whether your family would be impressed, she observed. Ethan called yesterday, genuinely curious about my latest campaign. Chloe found a second job to cover her credit card debt. And Mom. Well, Mom is learning that respect cannot be demanded, only earned. Last Tuesday, Jessica, a junior copywriter at the agency, lingered after our team meeting, her expression a mirror of my former anxiety. My parents expect me to fund my brother's startup, she confessed. Instead of platitudes, I shared my story without bitterness, then gave her the book that changed everything for me, Boundaries, with my inscription inside. Some cycles deserve to be broken. The family scrapbook sits on our coffee table, no longer a desperate plea for validation. New pages chronicle our wedding. This house, professional milestones. The final photo shows Dad, Grandma Eleanor, and me at Thanksgiving, genuine smiles replacing stiff poses. The remaining pages wait empty, labeled simply, Future Memories. When the invitation to Christmas Eve dinner went out to Mom, it came with clear conditions: respect, authenticity, boundaries. Her careful navigation of this new terrain, asking before offering advice, acknowledging Daniel's contributions, thanking us for hosting, reveals a fragile truce worth nurturing. In our family photo, everyone stands in their proper place, but now, that place is earned through love, not obligation. The bank of Holly closed permanently, and in its place, something more valuable emerged: a life measured by joy instead of usefulness.